Lake Chad was once the sixth largest lake in the world. However, it shrunk by 90%. If you look here at this image, you can see how 40 years ago it was very large, and how its borders along Nigeria, and Cameroon and Chad. And over the years, it has just shrunk. And so you can see that by 1997, there was just pieces of it scattered. And currently, there's the entire northern part has disappeared, and there's just a little bit left. Very little. And the vegetation region surrounding it is shrinking as well, and so that we're left with a lot of desert, very dry land. If you look closer, you will see how the area surrounding it has just becoming sand dunes. Let's see, this one would be it. You can see how dry the dirt is and the land. Very little vegetation. Up to 30 million people depend on Lake Chad, and the disappearance of the lake is due to climate change and population pressures. The changes in the lake have contributed to lack of water, crop failures, livestock deaths, collapsed fisheries, soil salinity, and increasing poverty. There are also have been tensions and conflicts are common among people within Chad and Chad with the surrounding countries over the remaining fertile land. There are plans to replenish the lake and try to prolong Lake Chad's lifespan, pretty much. They would like to build a dam and 60 miles of canals to pump water uphill from the Congo River to Lake Chad. However, this would be the first of its kind of project in Africa, and it'd cost millions of dollars. But in the long run, it would be a good investment. It would help sustain not only the environment, but the economy that comes from Lake Chad. Other projects include educating livestock herders on gaining access to grazing and watering areas to help decrease their depletion of Lake Chad. Water users are taught efficient water utilization methods, and fishermen are being taught more appropriate techniques for catching fish. And then, if you look at the rest of Chad, you will see that it is very dry desert land. All this here lacks a lot of water, and not only is it lacking in water, but it is especially lacking in sanitary water for drinking, bathing, cooking, and all the necessities that we need water for. 70% of Africa, 70% of Eastern Chad doesn't have access to sanitary water. Unsanitary water is usually a murky brown color, contaminated not only by sand and dirt, by animals as well as human feces. It's common for people to get diarrhea, cholera, and other waterborne diseases. Not only does it make them sick, but they have to travel hours to get this unsanitary water. And if we'll go over to look at this video real quick.
Clean water is in high demand, but poor quartiers on the outskirts aren't on the city's grid and rely on shallow wells and, if they can afford it, water vendors to provide water for drinking and bathing. But even then, there's no guarantee that the water is clean. Last year, over 17,000 people contracted cholera in Chad, and there were almost 5,000 cases in the capital alone.
So you'll see how water is very difficult, how difficult it is to find sanitary water throughout Chad. And there are projects and plans by the International Committee of Red Cross, ICRC, and UNICEF um, to create wells and boreholes, um, which water is pumped out of the ground. And there is water beneath Chad's surface, but the only problem is accessing it. And so, by supporting and funding these projects for wells, um, would be in the long run very good for Chad's people.